Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Today we are going to be doing the week 9 tutorials. So the first thing I'm going to do is open the Revit file. Okay, open that in Revit. Let it upgrade the model. So while it's doing that, I'm also going to open up the Extra Tools 1 PDF. Download that and open it up. Okay, so the first part of what we're doing is creating a building, some topography and a building pad. Now the building pad, the way the building pad is demonstrated in the first, I guess, about approximately two and a half pages, is from a previous version of Revit, so it's a little bit different in the 2004 Revit. So, oops, wrong thing. So let's go to here. Hopefully this thing will load in a second, and I'll show you guys how to do it in the 2004 Revit version. Okay, close. So it may have some issues with elements that have been upgraded. I think we're safe just to ignore those for the purpose of this tutorial. And so the first thing I want to do is create a topo surface. And I think the best view to do that in is the site plan. So I'm just going to double click the site plan and zoom out. Now I don't really want to see the roof when I'm doing the topo surface because I want to make the soil snug to the walls of the house. So what I'm going to do is right click and say hide in view and hide the roof. Now I'm going to go to massing in site, click on topo solid, and first I'm just going to define an area around the general site, and because we don't really have one in this case, I'm just going to do a big rectangle, something like that. And then I want to create a cutout in the middle of that surface that hugs the walls of the house. So the best way to do that is to use the pick wall tool right here, and then I'm going to uncheck extend into wall, and you can either go around clicking the walls one at a time, but what I've learned is easier. You just hover over one of the walls and hit tab, and it'll pick the chain of walls for you. Now if you're hovering towards the inside, it'll select the inside. In this case I want the outside, so I'm going to hover to the outside of the wall and click once, and it gives me the outline of the entire thing. Now once I have that, I'm going to hit the check mark. I'm going to say don't attach the walls. And now if I go to my 3D view, I've got my house, I've got a bit of a topo surface, and what you'll see later is it's kind of done a cookie cutter thing where the footprint of the house is actually cut out of this topo surface. And it's actually a void right in the middle in the exact shape of the house. And so what I can do now is I can, first of all, if I want, I can move it down a little bit because it's right now exactly level with the floor, and ideally I'd like the house to be a little bit of a step up from the landscape. So I'm going to say edit type, actually no, sorry, not edit type, I'm going to say height offset and say -6 inches and apply. Okay, next I may want to give it a bit of depth, so I can click it again and say edit type. And here it's up to you how much depth you want to give it. For the purpose of this tutorial, we don't really have to give it any, but I'm just going to give it, let's say 8 feet of depth, and hit OK and apply. So now it has a bit of thickness to it, not quite as deep as our footings are, but we don't need it for the purpose of this tutorial. Now the next thing we want to do is we're doing a bit of landscaping, so it looks like they're giving it a slope, and then we're flattening out an area for the house to exist in, and then we get to move on to some other stuff like adding trees and sun paths. So I'll go back to here, click on the topo solid, and when I do that, it gives me an option to modify sub elements. So let's say if I want, I can click on this, and here I can actually change the elevation of the entire site by changing certain points. So if I want, I can raise this corner point up, or I can raise this entire line up. So maybe I want to raise this line to be, let's say, 10 feet, and hit enter. And I can hit escape. And so now you can see that it's respected the outline of the house, keeping it minus 6 inches, and it sort of adjusted the landscaping the way it needs to be, in order to satisfy the condition of this being at 10 feet and this being at 0 feet. And I can keep going with that. Let's say I want to go back here and say modify sub-elements, and now I just want to raise this one point to be even higher. I know we're breaking from the tutorial here a bit, but just kind of demonstrating a point. I can make that one even higher, hit escape twice, and now it adjusts the contours again. Now in real life, on this side of the house, you don't really want the water or the landscaping sloping right to the wall of the house, because water will trickle along the surface and get into your footings and foundations, and that can cause all kinds of issues, including especially during the freeze-thaw cycles during the cold months. So we want to probably have a little bit of buffer around the house and have some increased drainage underground. But the way we'd create that buffer is to once again select the site. This time I'm going to go add point, and I want to make sure that it is, yours will start off here, I think. So it's going to be selected as along surface. We don't want it to be along surface. We want it to be absolute. So click on absolute, and I'm going to say minus 6 inches, so it's the same level as the house, or as the landscaping around the house. And I'm just going to give it a couple of points in sort of a horseshoe shape, and then hit escape twice. And so now I've moved the landscaping back even a little bit further to create a nice pad for the house. And if I want to, I can do a similar thing on the other side. Click here, edit sketch. Oops, not edit sketch, my mistake. Modify sub-elements, and I can take this line and say minus 4 feet, and hit escape. And so now it's giving me, sorry guys, I'm just going to have to pause this for a second here.